welcome back to Scry-fi. We're talking about Ahsoka episode 2 this time, so major spoilers if you haven't seen episode 1 or 2. We're here with Mike again, joining us hopefully on all of the episodes for Ahsoka because this is fun, right?
Planning on it.
Yeah.
Make sure you've seen our part 1
yes.
review.
Yeah, go check that out. Also, tell us in the comments. I guess we had a couple of things we were wanting to ask about, but one of them was, what character are you most wanting to see pop up? And maybe this is the same question, but who do you think the Inquisitor is from this episode?
And we're just guessing that's an Inquisitor. Could be something.
Well, they have the Inquisitor.
Yeah. The person that's all black clad with the Inquisitor lightsaber.
Yeah. Comment and tell me what the name was again, because they only say it once in this episode. It's It starts with an M. It's Marek.
Yeah, Marek, M-A-R-R-O-K or M-O-R-R-O-K or something like that.
Yeah, we were saying it's Murdoch from the 18th.
He loves it when a band comes together. Well, I did look on IMDb, and he's not listed on there.
Yeah, that's cool.
That tells you they're keeping it secret. Otherwise, whenever it's a voice or someone doing it, you'd be like, oh, cool, they got Ray Parks in there or something. It could be Ray Parks. That'd be cool. Although that'd be weird.
I read something today about there's 4 fan theories going on who that is, and they're pretty interesting. I think one of them will fail miserably if it is the case, but there's a couple good ones out there.
So what are the 4 theories that are kind of going around right now?
Yeah, they're just theories. No, these aren't spoilers.
We don't know. Nobody knows, right?
Sure. So I think the one that would fall if it's Ezra, I think that would be.
I can't understand how that could possibly be.
Well, the whole thing with Thrawn being missing or whatever, and somehow he got back, so Ezra got back, and that's I think that's the weakest of the bunch.
Agreed.
I think a strong one would be if it's one of the Knights of Ren that lasted. That came through.
Yeah. Or gonna be a Knight of Ren.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure, yeah.
This is before episode 7.
Yeah.
It's just that's a very underwhelming answer because it's like we didn't know who any of those guys were anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it could
be a bunch of different guys with different black masks.
Yeah. If it was the case, it would show us on IMDb, this person's playing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember when I said in the beginning of the first episode that there was this figure standing there, and until that figure turned around and you saw the lightsaber, you really didn't have any inkling that it was an Inquisitor. Right. It looked like a knight. It looked like what I said was like a medieval knight. And it'd be
when you see that rounded saber, though.
Yeah, it's totally different. But the Knights of Ren, like maybe that's a knight. I don't know. I like that theory.
Yeah.
I like that was a good one. I also like that it's Barriss.
That's my favorite one, and we've all been wondering whatever happened to Barriss. It seems like that would be an ideal recruit for Palpatine.
Yeah, and Filoni's doing a really good job of tying up loose ends from other things and answering questions and bringing story arcs to a close. So, maybe it's not a male. It implies that it's male, but it could be a female, and it could be.
I think it looks like it's a male. But I'm not sure. I think it looks like it's hard to tell for sure. But
frame and the cartoons and stuff. So
Yeah.
But go back and you look at the fighting style. It doesn't look like Barriss the way that she fought.
Oh.
So, he's got some different stances. So I don't know.
They tend to take on Sith fighting styles though, and change their fighting style once they convert. So I could believe it.
Yeah.
Of course, one of the ones in the running is always going to be just a new character, just an Inquisitor we didn't know about.
Like I said, they'd have him on IMDb. I think it's an actor we're going to or be able to predict.
Like why not say what actor played him if it wasn't somebody
really
who's going
to
be? He turned to the dark side after he got his eye stalks cut off, and that's why he fits in the helmet.
And I guess the mouth. Yeah.
Yeah, he's more machine now than Gungan.
Twisted and evil. All right, let's get into the actual episode.
I was saying I think it's Captain Panaka. So random.
Oh my god.
It could be.
It's Lobot. We never knew what happened to him.
It could be Ventress.
But wasn't she like going on becoming a normal person thing?
Well, she'll never be a normal person. She was doing her own thing, but remember, she was a Night Sister, and Morgan Elsbeth is a Night Sister, and we don't know that Marek or whatever the character is with those two Jedi. Those two Jedi showed up on that ship by themselves. Yeah. Maybe Marek is with her.
Yeah. That's
maybe. I like that. Just narratively, though, it's hard to imagine her arc going that way and then coming back to being this evil minion again. I don't know.
One other thing it could be is, I forget her name, but the Inquisitor that turned in Obi-Wan. Starts with a K, I think.
No, it was an R.
Oh, Reva.
Oh, Reva. Yeah, Reva's a little more stocky, I think. Yeah,
that's true, but I wonder what happened to her. I want to know that story after.
That would be interesting to know. Yeah, sure. And they'll probably do it in comic books or something like that.
Yeah. I like Ventress. Ventress is good. I think the one that I don't want to see is it's Ezra, because that's just stupid. But I
just don't see that.
Barriss. I like to see Barriss's character arc come to a close. Like that's. But I think Ahsoka would have recognized, unless she like. The Sith learn their enemy's fighting style, so they adapt to what they need to do. But I think Ahsoka would have recognized, unless we look at it and you see her looking at her enemy and kind of recognizes some of the stances or some of the fighting, then maybe like she's like, ooh, that seemed familiar, but it didn't come across that way.
Yeah, I don't think so. And I think we would have gotten I sense a presence that I've not felt in a long time, that kind of thing.
Yeah. It's possible that we may just never know, and it's just some figure that gets killed at some point.
Well, I think we'd have the actor if that was the case.
Yeah, they're hiding. They're keeping something secret for some sort of reveal, right? We've got 2 out of 8 in the book, so we have 6 more to see what happens.
Before we get into the details of this episode, I wanted to mention some stuff that we talked about in the last episode. We were talking about those end credits. Mm-hmm. Well, there's this channel called Star Wars Explained, which is a really awesome channel. I love it. He decodes some of that on there, and they are systems we know. Mm-hmm. And tomorrow on that channel, they're going to be releasing. This video coming out today, Friday. They're going to be releasing a video that goes into depth on those end credits.
That'll be interesting.
What all those systems are. So that'll be cool to check out.
I also saw something on another video just giving other details, and I can't remember who it was, and I think I do, but I don't want to give the wrong credit. But they were saying that Balin's last name, Skull, and Hati are the names of 2 wolves in northern Viking culture.
Again, Filoni with the wolves.
Yeah. He loves wolves and stuff. And I thought that was pretty interesting. They cause Ragnarok. They eat the sun and cause Ragnarok. So
wow, what a cool tie-in. All the names in Star Wars always refer to stuff like this, so that's great.
Yeah. That's neat.
So
nothing. We talked about it last time. Nothing is on accident. Nothing is a throwaway, right? Everything they do is on purpose. That's why that scene with the lines and the systems and everything, like all of that means something. We might not know what it is, or we know what it is, we just haven't recognized what it is yet. So I'm really curious how they're going to decode that, because when that line comes in and all those Purgles are there, it made me think of like the Rebels trajectory. And then from there, that was the end of season 4, and then it keeps moving forward. And that I feel like that's where we're picking up. But
that'll be neat to see. Yeah.
Awesome.
For a second there, I thought you said porgs. Like there are porgs in the sky.
No,
not porgs.
It's all about the porgs.
The flying whales.
Yeah.
All right. So let's take a look at where we start off. We start off in the hospital.
Yeah. We get to see a 2-1B medical droid, like in Empire Strikes Back, and it even has the same it has this texture on its breastplate. It has these little degradations in it, and I wonder if it's the same 2-1B medical droid that was with Luke on off.
I mean, I guess it could be. she's on. Well, no, she's in a different place. They're not on the ship. They're not. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That I don't see how that could be. Maybe they all just have that texture. Weird.
It could be the Easter egg could be that it is the same one that was in the film, but it is just a different droid because they're manufactured and whatever. But it could actually be the same plating and the same everything that they use in the others. It's just, obviously a different system. Or
I do have.
Anyway, that's cool to see.
I do have one little minor gripe. I didn't get a picture of it, but I did notice right away, and I looked back and stuff. But the hole that she has is now on her midriff, and it was way up higher whenever the lightsaber went through it.
Oh, I thought it was right just under the ribs.
I thought it was in
on the right
rib,
side.
like it was way up high, and now it's down in the midriff. So I don't know.
Oh, that's where I thought it was. But I do like the way the skin looked right there. Like it's still tender, but it's been regenerated fast. It kind of reminded me of that lab-grown meat that they're trying to make like hamburgers with, but it's kind of like mushy and not really well fibered yet and stuff. And it also was cool to see when they had the bandage, there was some kind of tube with a blue fluid, which is probably like Bacta.
Yeah. I thought it was kind of neat. It starts off with Ahsoka being very kind of like, "Are you okay?" kind of stuff like that. But then she delivers like this little line to her as she's leaving.
You've done enough.
Yeah. He's like, "Oh, let me help." He's like, "No, you've done enough." And like,
what's weird is I watched this episode twice, and the first time I took it that way. I took it like you've done enough, Yeah. But then the second time I watched it, it kind of sounded like maybe I'm sure she came off that way too. That's the way Ezra interpreted it. But I could almost see her saying it like, "No, it's fine. You've done enough. I'll take it from here."
I don't think so. She gives a second look after she says it, and then this is the look that Sabine gets when she said she knows what she said.
Yeah, I agree.
There's a reason why they have issues. I think. I don't.
Think there was obviously some kind of big flare up at some point, and they went their separate ways.
I don't think Ahsoka's that great of a teacher.
Yeah,
I think she has her own issues.
Well, plus another thing too is that it's a lot more challenging teaching somebody who already is a very free spirit, independent, hasn't been trained since being a baby. Yep. It's going to be that same problem with all of the attempts to restart Jedi stuff. Is that nobody's going to give you their babies if after that order's gone anymore. They don't have that tradition anymore. So now you're always training people that already have their own ideas and they're older.
It'd be smart is instead of starting a Jedi school and saying, "Give me your babies," then they should instead just be like, "Hey, let me stick around while the baby's growing, and I'll teach it. It could go to school, hang out with you, and that way you can start them off early." But
yeah. Something like that might be better.
Ahsoka's character from Clone Wars on through, she was always pushing that line, right? Very stubborn, very, I want to do it. Similar to Anakin, right? Always pushing that line. But then you have a Mandalorian who's stubborn, and you have Ahsoka who's stubborn. And now we're like, I'm sure that they clashed in their training. There's no part of that was most likely smooth, right?
Yeah.
They're both very... I don't want to say pig-headed, but you know what I mean, like stubborn. Yeah.
Stubborn.
Very not even stubborn, but more like driven, very, singular in their way they want to be.
Sure.
So we get this cool Night Sisters little spot kind of thing. It made me think like all of these little things that are there seem very important. What if some asteroid came through? What if a bear rubbed up against it? I mean, like, those look like thin, very important stone pieces that probably could break and not work correctly anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just luck, I think, that, or fate. that it's still around.
I like you're implying that bears live there. Maybe not. Maybe they're animalists.
Star bears or whatever.
I like the approach to that area with all the trees and the color palette, right? It was very, because now we're attuned to the Night Sisters. We're thinking about that whole thing. And as we approach this cliff and we approach that the what looks like a forest in the red, the trees are very red. it had a very sisters look to it, right? Like those gowns, those red cloaks, it very much resembled like a panel of them around while this thing was in the center. It was really neat the way that they had that layout.
Oh, by the way, something I didn't realize before, we were talking about the ruins, the all white ruins with the black sand at that other place. And I said something like, it looks like some kind of precursor to the Night Sisters. But I saw in another video that was pointing out details. I'm sorry, I can't remember which one it was. I've watched so many now, but it pointed out that those figures that were holding the little orbs on the inside of that.
The mother, the maiden,
the outfits that they were wearing not only looked like Mother Townsend's outfit, but there was actually red paint on it that had pretty much faded away.
Oh, that's cool.
Like you could tell, like at one time it had been, more bright red. So that connects it a lot more now.
It's pretty cool.
In my mind, too good.
Yeah, it really connected with this with the red, like the color palette that they were doing, because everything's really muted up. That like we went from the dark white with the black soot or dirt or ashes, and we went to this cliff, and dusk or whatever, and it just very gray. And then the color with the red in the background was really.
I noticed those red trees too. And what's cool is that when it shows the planet in orbit, just before that, you can see that reddish color on the continents. Like they kept it consistent.
Yeah,
it's pretty interesting.
Great stuff.
So
now,
I really like
is that scene back there that you just left? Is that the one where they activate the hologram, or is that later?
No,
oh, okay.
That's later.
That's
All right, we'll come to
say
that.
Contact Morgan.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she goes to investigate the fight that happened at the end of episode 1, and she's hearing the talking and stuff. So she's getting that echo, like force thing going, maybe. Yeah, I know that they introduced this in a video game kind of thing. So where you could like get a sense of what's happened before, and I think the old role-playing game has a power in it like that too.
I don't know if this is the specific power that like Quinlan Voss has, where he touches objects and stuff. It might just be that Jedi could do far seeing, right, future or past. But if they're actually in the location they're trying to see, it might be easier to do that same
the people
ability.
Involved and stuff like that. Maybe,
like if Luke had been standing in the torture room, he might have been able to foresee that Han would be there and get tortured on Cloud City easier.
So she's hearing like. We've been looking for this. Oh, that's too bad, that kind of thing. And whenever she hears Sabine say that, she kind of smirks a little. Like, that she's hearing it. It's not just us being.
It's not just the audience. Yeah.
I like the little Loth cat is waiting for her, but kind of like, I'm not going in there. There's a droid.
Right, and that was a cool part because she said, okay, she was told that one of the droids was destroyed. She goes and there's no droid. And the cat won't go inside. So that's probably what told her, like, oh, it must be in there.
That was the one thing I had with this. Like, it was clear that the one droid got knocked over the top, right? So it should unless it was taken away on the ship. I don't understand how it wasn't there on the ground.
No, it wasn't knocked over the edge. It just was knocked down. It was what we saw was that it was on that ledge outside, and she shoots, and it goes off camera, and you don't actually get to see what happens. On that last shot, she just runs after that.
She shoots its foot off.
At first she does, but then she shoots again, and it just shows her shooting. It doesn't show what she shot or what happened, but then she goes and runs. And so when they come back here, it actually doesn't have a foot when it comes down from above.
All right.
This scene was so fast, I couldn't grab a screen grab of it. The thing just drops, and she turns around, flash of light and head. So...
The mouth on the Loth cat is great.
Yeah. It's like, So this was really cool for a lot of reasons. For like times whenever we've played our role-playing game and we've had ideas of like, well, the droid was there. Surely I should be able to take it apart and all this stuff. And there weren't really good, clear rules on how this stuff. So I bet you people are going to write new rules and ideas of how to do
you just make your droid programming roll and try to access its memory and stuff, right?
Right, but in the HK or evil droids or whatever, they might explode.
Right. Yeah. Droids could always have security. I loved the thing about this is that I loved is that the head is obviously like so much steel and like heavy. You could tell it was like hunk.
Yeah.
And like some droids probably just have a thin steel shell and a bunch of plastic and stuff. Whereas that thing was solid. You could tell that thing's heavy. Oh, this thing. I found out something about this too. Somebody posted on social media somewhere, I saw it. There was an old game called Galaxy. What was it called?
Was it Star Wars Galaxies?
No, it wasn't a Star Wars game. It was an old game in the 70s, or maybe early 80s, late 70s.
This does look like that little football 70s game.
It was one of those kind of games, and that's what that is.
Really?
It's called like Galaxy Defender or Galaxy Invader or something. And, it's turned upside down, and they've changed out what's on the screen there, to be Arabesh and all. And they've replaced the red button with a red light, made it just look more real, like technical. But that body of it, all the details of it, when you see the picture side by side, you see it is that game
That's
from the 70s.
What's great about that is like the original Star Wars used stuff they had laying around to make models and stuff too. So it feels like, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
There's the little dial starting to heat up that's going to blow everything up. Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, you could find it right now if you wanted to show it. I've got a picture of it.
I'd have to move things around to do that and stuff.
Okay.
Well, when we're done showing the screenshots, you can share the screen and pull it up.
That's true.
I put a link to it for when
this was really cool.
Wait, go back one. This scene, and I actually chuckled. Like when they're staring out the window, like Ahsoka leaves, and they talking about what's going on, and like there was a moment there, like get the comedy of.
We haven't gotten to that scene yet. They come back to it.
Was it right?
Oh, they come back to the med.
They come back to it. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they jump around quite a bit actually. They jump to this where Morgan.
I love seeing the green flame stuff. That's
green
Night Sister magic.
Yeah. And this is where she starts the whole big hologram stuff going. I think I like that even the Jedi was like, ooh, like that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Now, what's interesting here is that it looks like there's a line that comes from the middle of the galaxy and goes to a point in the galaxy and through it. You see what I mean? It doesn't come from, and that point where it is, the planet that they're on, I looked up, they said where it was, and it's a pre-existing, pre-mentioned planet in Star Wars Atlas, and it is on the edge of the galaxy like that. So I think that gold dot there is where they are right now. But I don't know why the line goes from the middle of the galaxy to the dot and then through it on. So that's interesting.
So this is where she leaves, Morgan leaves, and he talks to her for a little bit. This is what I was talking about last episode, where I don't think until this moment he's had this, we have to gain all this power and all this stuff. I think he's.
Well, why would you think there's power involved if you didn't know anything but this? I know he said it, but why does he think that just from seeing a hologram?
Because he has some knowledge about this that he didn't share. That's
okay.
Happened. That's
so
what he's
putting
saying.
Together his prior knowledge with what he just saw, he decided, we're going to do this cool thing. Whereas
like,
my view was that they had that plan all along,
right?
And they're just posing as mercenaries to be involved with this.
I don't think so. I don't think he even knew about how this was connected or where Thrawn was or anything like that.
He does look like he's learning something new as he watches.
Yeah, where he's looking at this, he's like, oh, this is this. He's making connections. And after she leaves, he's telling her, for us, there's great power. And he's like thinking, this is it. This is what I've been waiting for. Oh, and he also says a new beginning.
Yeah.
Maybe he wants to go to that other galaxy.
Like,
Mm.
screw this whole galaxy who hates Jedi and whatever I
If-
am, or
If he was jaded, like I was saying before, from what happened with Order 66, that could be
Yeah.
right in line with that thinking.
Yeah, it's true.
So it cuts over to Ahsoka flying over to Corellia.
Yeah.
Corellia, yeah. Looks real
And,
similar to how we saw it before in Solo
Yeah.
and stuff. I
It's
think
fun-
Corellia
it's
was
kinda
shown
cool.
in Clone Wars at one point, wasn't it?
It was shown in Solo,
Yeah,
because
it
that's
was-
where
I
it
know
started,
that.
but it's all nighttime. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was cool.
there was a little. You see one of the little star destroyers or something in the background on the approach too.
Being broken down.
I saw that. Yeah, it was being taken apart. I don't think it's
Yeah.
in that picture, but yeah.
In Solo, it was the Venator classes being taken apart from the Clone Wars era, and now the same thing's happening, but with Imperial Star Destroyers.
That's pretty cool.
This was great. I love that shot.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So here's what I'm talking about. Look how tall Hera is.
Yeah.
She should not be that much taller. She's
Oh, something I meant to mention is we've actually seen another attempt at real lifing her character, and it's the 6-inch Black Series. Whenever they make the Black Series action figures, they always make realistic versions of them, to match the rest of the figures. And it looks pretty close to me.
It is pretty close, but yeah. Well, we talked a lot about that before. Though.
Mm-hmm.
I like this guy.
I knew this guy was fishy from the very beginning.
Yeah.
I still don't know if he knew about all the Imperial stuff.
I think he's just corrupt,
Yeah,
he's
I think
making money.
I think that's what Ahsoka even said. She was
It's greed.
It's not loyalty, it's greed. Yeah. But
His
I
little
still
Republic
like him.
pin.
He was so Ferengi in his way. Oh, there's the wound, by the
very
way.
shady for a while, but there was that one moment up when they're talking in a little bit up on top where he kind of wide-eyed looked at the droid like, who cleared the thing? At that moment, I don't know if he knew exactly what was going on. I think, like you said, he was corrupt, but I don't think he was in on it, kind of thing. The other people seemed like they were very in on it, right? But
I thought he was acting like, why wasn't this reported? Even though he knew.
I don't know. This is where it jumps back to this part where you're talking about.
Right.
There's a picture of doesn't that look a lot lower than where it looked like she got stabbed before?
We can look again, but to me, it looked like what I remembered. But also, her blanket is up high. Maybe that makes it look like that's her waistline.
Yeah, but it had to be low. It couldn't have been up because it would have punctured her lung and it would have been a whole big mess, right? Like if it's lower and it's below the ribs, it would have been.
If it was lower, it'd be in the liver, and that's much more messed.
I remember thinking, "Oh, they got her in the liver."
Huh.
At the time.
So yeah, this little part where she's talking to Huyang, that was a fun little moment where he was like, "You should come back." You want to
chuckled out loud. Yeah,
he's a very advanced droid.
Hmm.
That's for sure. He's very astute, very aware. He might be sentient, I guess.
He learned a lot.
So yeah, then they cut to him. He's giving them the run around, the red tape.
Yeah.
And this. You talked about this scene last episode, where this is where they see the giant hyperdrive thing, and she's like,
it's actually down below in the middle. It's being towed by that ship in the very middle in that gully thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
To the left. Yeah, right there.
But I was talking about this last time. This is where like the this moment where she's going back and forth. That was very.
So you don't have clearance, and she's like, "You want to bet?"
Yeah. And you got a little bit of that on the ground where she's like, I can make this difficult. Like I can make this official. You want to really be a dick.
Well, she knows her power. She's a general. Yeah. She could do it. But also,
this moment was the first time I was like, okay, that's a little Hera. That's felt Hera.
Yeah, that does. That did definitely feel like her. The windows in the background. Did you notice they have a similar pattern as the Star Destroyer bridge with the this.
Yeah. So I like that this guy says, for the Empire, starts to shoot. Ahsoka's already moving. They're still looking at the
Yeah.
like they're like, huh? Like they haven't even
It
started
was like
yet.
whole surprise round.
Lightsabers are already out and going.
Yep.
Uh-huh. I don't know what that dude was thinking.
That guy chose the wrong time. And then this lady was like, "Uh-oh."
Yeah.
I immediately regret this decision.
This one was pretty cool. She rips the gun out of the woman's hand, and then even though that's the case, she just shoots her while she's holding her like this. And I was like, okay. I remember, not to keep bringing it up, at a specific time in our role-playing game where one of our players who's a Jedi and the others aren't
hold people with telekinesis.
Can I hold people and the other people shoot them? And I was like, that doesn't sound very Jedi-like.
Yeah. Maybe it'd be different if it was prearranged as opposed to just Herod did it.
That's kind of like what they were talking about. Like, hey, let's do this move where I just hold people and you shoot them. Like,
kind of the thing where you're like,
yeah,
the paladin agrees to leave the inn while the rogue talks about unpaladin stuff. Yeah.
See, this is him hiding. He's not involved in this stuff. He's so afraid.
I think he could be involved, and he's just a coward, you know?
Sure.
He didn't look like he was like, okay, getting him in the right place to do. Like, he didn't expect this.
No, I don't think he expected a fight. I think he's just trying to, like, cover his track. But I think he was involved in the corruption and stuff. So.
I definitely think that, but I don't think he even thought Empire.
I don't think he led him up there thinking, we're going to attack him when I get him up here.
All right, so there's Ezra. No.
Yeah. No. Please, God, no.
Yeah,
I hope it's not.
Oh, and I just love the little, the cape comes off. Yeah. But just something cool about that little latch that they do.
Yeah, that's a cool looking character. I could see that it could be a female if they were very thin framed,
like a thinner frame.
Mirasafi would be able to fit in there. I think it does look male though.
I think mainly it looks male. I'd be a little surprised if female, but not totally. Also, it was cool that the HK kind of gets caught between them, and they both end up like cutting it at the same time.
This was one of the. I was talking about this a little bit in the other episode. Like, this is where you see Ahsoka focused on that rather than the HK droid, right? And even though she's fighting the droid, her eyes are attending to this and what's going on over here because she knows that's the major threat. And then that's when like she stabs him and brings him in as a droid shield to make sure like, it's getting in the way. This whole
that was cool. Yeah, pushing it back like that. Yeah.
This whole fight scene was it was so well done and so good for her character because that's like her fighting style. The way that she did her thing was just so spot on.
Uh-huh. Yeah, they've matched her mannerisms and her fighting style really well and kept it.
And again, they're doing the whole Star Wars thing where while this is happening, and it's two exciting things.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't
land in a space.
Yeah, you don't get too even lightsaber battling for like 5 minutes. Now, like they do such a good job of keeping you on edge and then bringing you over here and putting you on the edge and then put it up. It's like,
and a lot of times those two theaters, when they do this Star Wars thing, those two theaters, they have the same kind of climax and arc kind of at the same time. Like you notice in episode 1 when, Qui-Gon goes down and the droids got him surrounded and all that, and Anakin can't start his ship. All that stuff happens at the same time, and then all the good stuff happens together.
This was probably my favorite part of the episode. The Ahsoka fight. The Ahsoka fight was great, and it if anything, it ties this next moment that's coming up when Chopper is talking. You understand Chopper. Like when you're watching Rebels. Not Chopper's like sarcastic, like his little beeps and bloops and whatever, but it's almost like you can understand him better than R2.
Yeah. When he says, "Did you mess with my stuff?" It's like.
Oh, understand what he's saying. It's so
well. Great. That's Dave Filoni saying that. You know that, right? So he's
he does.
So
and when he's like, "Did you go through my stuff?" His arms go like this.
And she's like, "I didn't go through your stuff." And he goes, "Yes, you did."
Yeah, you did. Yeah. Oh, it's great.
I know. This is the moment you're talking about where they just killed the droid in between, and then of course strikes the
Then
second
the other
one.
side.
You're like, yeah, we knew that was coming.
If this turns out to be Barriss, this moment right here is really, really epic, right? Like in the future, when if this is revealed to be somebody, then this is going to have so much more of an impact moving forward. Like this heads up thing.
Looks a lot like Captain Panaka to me.
Definitely Panaka, yeah. And the cape, he got rid of the cape. Like that all makes sense. Yeah. There he is.
So there he is. Starts
throwing the thing as they go over, and it spins over the top of like a key.
Like, what is this? Throws it.
Oh yeah, that was good.
And he does the arms out thing. Like they just he was.
And I love how just after he throws it and it connects, his arm goes like this, like yes. Like that guy.
I know. I love Chopper.
Oh, he's great.
This was pretty interesting. Like, you would think an apprentice like her would be anxious to get into it and all that stuff, but she knows. She was like, nope, I'm not going to get involved with that. We don't need to.
I think she also knows that she can't take Ahsoka by herself.
Maybe, but I think it's more than that. I think it's interesting to see an apprentice who's actually disciplined.
Yeah.
Like she goes, nope, I'm here for this and stuff. I don't need to kill the Jedi. I don't have this hunger to do that.
They know what their goal is.
Yeah.
Well,
and we talked about that last episode too.
I think if Ahsoka wasn't on the way to help Sabine, I think that scene plays out a little bit differently in episode 1. And it would go against that discipline because she would, unless she's there to get the map. Sabine's in her way. So maybe that would be the whole, like, all right, I got to take care of business kind of thing. But it was interesting to see her not jump into the fight.
Yeah. And this was just a badass move.
Yeah, she just kind of goes like this, like no big deal, like she was coming.
Such a badass.
That was pretty cool.
And, I don't know. It's like, do they really want to kill them? Or they're just like doing what they got to do to get their goals accomplished. Yeah.
And Chopper's got the tracker. I like that they showed the tracker up close. It's pretty cool looking.
Yeah.
So it cuts back down to her finally coming to her senses at some point. Like, okay, I can't just hang out here. I gotta do the whole get my armor out and all that stuff, right?
Yeah. And this is one of those things too that happen in movies and shows where you just take the knife and you go like that, but then the next scene you've got this nice tailored haircut that's like way better than if you just.
It's even dyed a different color and stuff. They didn't show that. They didn't show her dyeing her hair and all that. Yeah.
But that's okay.
There was a side by side I saw of Kanan when there was a moment where Kanan had the mask in front of him. And then he cuts his hair as well, the same way Sabine.
With the knife doing like that, right?
Very Kanan-esque.
I forgot about that. Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Huh. I wanted to look at this. I noticed that she changed it during Rebels, actually. But at one point, she used to have the Morai, the owl on her shoulder.
Yeah.
And then near the end of Rebels, I think the last season or something, she changed it. And she changes her armor stuff a lot. The helmet throughout Rebels changes and stuff. Yeah, so I was just trying to see what this is. I think that's a Purgle. I'm not sure. I couldn't see it very well.
It could be.
I like how she's got the Rebel symbol, finally, the official Rebel symbol on her shoulder. There.
Yeah, the Purgle could be a nod to Ezra, right? Like the last time that whole thing happened where could be.
Mm-hmm.
He's getting all arrested. He's upset.
Somebody should have come out and said, I guess you could kiss your trade franchise goodbye.
That's so left field. Yeah, this is where she's saying it's greed, not
right.
And then she comes on and she's like, hey, kind of want to join again.
Who wants to eat off that table that's basically a floor?
Yeah.
It's like you're eating off the floor.
Well, maybe as it raises it, like, I don't know. It looks like a pretty clean floor.
I'm sure they have Purell.
Yeah.
All right, so this scene, right?
This was cool.
This entire scene was so cool.
Okay, now here's my question. So there's obvious little differences, which might just be, animation alive. We didn't do it exact, but that's okay. But is this maybe the reason? Like, maybe it's not actually supposed to be the scene. Maybe what happened was originally the scene we see in animation is when she chooses to go train with her. And what she's doing now is saying, meet me at the same place you met me before. And she kind of goes through the same little ritual to say, I'm recommitting. And this is an actual second event of the same.
Oh, yeah, it's
stuff.
definitely a second event.
Yeah.
There's,
Okay.
I watched back and forth to watch it happen, and there's some major differences.
Like she doesn't put on her helmet in the live action one.
I think
Ahsoka doesn't have that staff thing. Yeah. So
But
I think
it
they're
was
just
really
she's
cool.
sending a message to Ahsoka saying, "Here we are again. Let's try this again." You know.
Yep.
And I think she just wanted to see the mural one more time before she left. Is why she went there.
So she does that, and she does both of those same things. This is from Rebels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She got the bag, different armor. Yeah.
Yeah, that's from Rebels, and then that's from the real one. Such a great
cool
callback, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's neat.
Yeah, I think if you're familiar with it, it's a really cool like moment for. Oh, I remember that. I remember when, and I remember. And if you're not, if you haven't watched Rebels and you're just watching this, it's still a really cool like. There's this group that she's like looking at this mural, and they had that whole ceremony about the sacrifices and everything that was made. So that mural makes sense, even if you don't know that we've seen that before. Watching this for a first time, that means something. And now her coming back when the whole you got to be ready, you both got to be ready, and now she's like, I'm ready, and she's there in front of like Ezra and all that. Like, it's really, really cool. Yeah. Either way, if you know it or you don't, it's a really cool moment.
I just had a thought. What if the Inquisitor is Kanan?
No, he's dead.
We thought he was dead, and they grab him, but he's all burnt up, and they put the stuff on him, and they turn him evil, and they...
No. Kanan's got to be... If we do see Kanan in live action...
People would be so pissed.
Kanan's got to be a flashback or a memory that happened, or it's going to have something to do with the inter-time thing, if that ends up happening, where we see it through a window or something.
I don't think we will, but anyway, it was just a fun thought.
I mean, they already kind of did that in Rebels. Whenever he's in there, he sees Kanan, he's thinking about saving him, but he can't, all that stuff. So.
Oh, yeah.
This scene was kind of cool to see the hyperdrive being put in. It almost felt like that scene with the Death Star where they're like combining it at the end of Andor.
Yeah. And it obviously looks like a hyper ring, like a ship is supposed to go into this or something, like it carries it. But, earlier in the scene back at the shipyard when they were saying what that thing was, it's interesting that for the audience sake, they didn't say Superstar. They just said SSD. Mm-hmm. And, I guess geeks will know if that's Super Star Destroyer. They'll know the ship that it came from and how big it was. But they said, it's large, so that's enough for an audience to know. Yeah. But it was just interesting that, they didn't make a big deal out of it. So that must mean that they've gotten the hyperdrive cores out of 3 Super Star Destroyers or something similar. But
this is going to end up having to do with something with Thrawn's ship, right?
I think this is what she's going to put her ship into to get to the other galaxy.
Yeah. They're going to use this to travel along that orange line.
She called it the Eye of Sion, right?
Something like that. Yeah, I couldn't remember what it was. Yeah.
Do you think it'll attach to the ship like a hyper ring, or do you think it'll create a gate that they go through?
Why have a hyperdrive engine if it's going to create a gate?
Yeah.
No, what I'm saying is like all we know right now is this big ring structure, right?
Yeah.
So is it actually going to attach onto some big ship that goes into the middle of it and it attaches like a hyper ring did? And then the whole ship and the ring go. Do you think the ring is going to create a gate and then the ship goes through the gate?
I was thinking like as a ring, like it'll have a beam that shoots from the planet and shoots through it, and it travels along that beam,
Oh, interesting.
like we see in the map and all that. You know?
Yeah.
Travel along your beam.
And the beam powers it and all that. You know,
or keeps it guided. Because here's an interesting thought too: is like the nature of hyperdrive travel or hyperspace travel. Like one of the things you're trying to do when you chart a hyperspace course is trying to find the open spaces between all the gook in a galaxy, dust and clouds and all that, to find your paths that you're trying to take. And so, like a major hyper lane will be one that's well mapped and has a lot of open space, and you can move fast through it. So then that begs the question of why can't they go between galaxies where there's almost nothing? It's almost, you think that would be really much easier, but they don't do it, and we don't see them do it. In fact, if that were the case, they could just, on the galactic plane, they could come up and go over here and then come down and not have to worry about all that navigation stuff. So there must be something, there's either like a field around the galaxy that they, like hyperspace turbulence or something, and they can't get beyond it.
I know in the High Republic books, the first one describes the hyper lanes as an actual thing. They're actual tunnels that are like in an interdimensional space.
Like an easier current of hyperspace to travel through than other
Those might
parts
not
of
exist
space.
outside the galaxy.
So it's like when you take a piece of paper and you fold it, you punch the hole through. It's an actual four-dimensional hole.
Yeah, I mean, those tunnels
points.
actually exist, is what I'm saying. Like they just in like another dimension or something. But well, we're getting far away from the episode, but
yeah, it's just we're wondering how this intergalactic stuff works, you know. And so apparently, it's a big deal to get to another galaxy, and this thing somehow gets around the issues.
So this was pretty cool. Where she's talking to him and like, you know, finishing here. This is the moment where he says it would be a shame to kill Ahsoka.
Right.
There's so few Jedi left.
Tells you something about his character.
Yeah.
About what he
has no malice towards her or the Jedi or anything.
I think he is willing to do evil crap to accomplish his goals, but he's not like trying to just go be vicious for its own sake.
That's what I'm saying. Is I think he's more mercenary than anything.
You know, there's something else interesting about this scene, and that is that the nature of the way the hologram looks is completely different than any hologram ever shown in the Star Wars universe before.
Yeah.
So that makes me think that this place, this piece of what she's in here, is some kind of something weird or different or ancient, or maybe it's extragalactic itself. Maybe it came from, I don't know.
I took this shot specifically so we could watch how it wisps away.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a Night Sister thing.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Night Sister tech.
Yeah, they had that smoky green smoke stuff that they use. So
could be it has something to do with that.
It seemed when you got the close up on Balin and them, it seemed way more granular than the hologram projector that like the Emperor used or Darth Maul.
It looks more advanced. Maybe it's just more expensive.
It's also much more detailed. Well, I mean, looking at Sabine and looking at Hera earlier in the episodes, like they were also detailed, but it definitely was more grainy. Like it was more to it.
There's a thing in Star Wars. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I remember episode in Clone Wars where Mother Townsend connects with Dooku, and she does it over a cauldron, and it creates a hologram of him. I want to go back and look at that and see if it's very similar.
This does look like tech, though. It doesn't look like magic.
It looks much more misty than looking at Sabine's projection.
Yeah, it's all misting off of them and stuff,
Well, even the bottom, too. We don't see the feet, but when you looked at Sabine in the ship, you saw full body. Like, that's all misty right on the bottom.
So it's very different, to be sure. But, there's a thing in Star Wars that happens where they obviously have the tech. Like, we've seen, remember when they were using hologram stuff to look like a different Jedi disguise themselves. So there is holographic tech that can be absolutely real, looks totally real. It's just that a lot of times I think they just go with like cheap technologies that get the job done, especially the Empire. They go with like mass producible, very cheap kind of stuff. So that's why their holograms look the way they look. So the fact that this looks more advanced doesn't necessarily mean it's not from this galaxy or from, just some better manufacturer.
It's
or
like
something.
whenever you walk into like a government building, they got all those old thick CRT on their computers.
Yeah. And I actually wonder why we don't do that more in real life. Like, there's so many things we do now that need a computer system, but a very basic computer system could accomplish that task.
Yeah, this is a pretty cool episode. I had a lot of interesting. I think it had a lot of subtle notes about our not Sith, but our non-Jedi bad guy Balin and
Our
Hati.
foes.
Yeah, it had a lot of interesting stuff there.
You can tell there's a lot of things being dropped here that are going to have more meaning later on when you look back on it.
Yeah, a lot of pause moments, right? Like Ahsoka's battle with the quote Inquisitor, right? Like there's that moment where the camera freezes and lets you take that in for a second. Even here too, like look at the screens that she's looking at. That looks like the star maps or whatever. Like there's a lot going on. There really is.
Yeah. Interesting stuff.
I can't wait till the next one.
Yeah.
I'm loving every bit of it.
Yeah.
And there's only going to be
8.
10 of them? 8 of them. Golly.
Yeah, 6 more.
I guess we just got to think of it like a miniseries or a movie broken into parts. Or something.
I mean, the first night was 56 minutes and then 40 something minutes, right? It's a movie. It's an hour and a half of a movie. It's awesome.
So this is like 4 movies, maybe something like that,
Well, if you do Star Wars times for movies, it could be a trilogy. Yeah. This could have been the Ahsoka trilogy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why they wouldn't do it.
The 38 minutes and the 36 minutes, and then they give us like, a 52 in like episode 6, and then.
But on average, if you average it out or total it up and look at the total time, I think you got a trilogy going with it.
It's interesting to me that they didn't go theater with it, and I wonder if the whole 2020 thing and the theaters crashing caused that.
Yeah, but, I don't know. I think it was kind of a gamble to do that as a movie. Like,
I mean, if this was the first movie, if it ended here, I'd be like, oh, I can't wait for the next movie.
Yeah, but you're coming off the sequels that got shat on pretty hard.
And you're talking about something that there's not really a sure bet, like how many people are going to follow the Ahsoka character into a theater. Like for us, it seems like a no-brainer, But I hope after they see the success of this, I hope it will see success. That'll make it more obvious.
We know the next. I don't know if it's the next one, but the next movie Filoni is doing is the Mandalorian movie.
Right.
So that's pretty smart of them to move.
When you say movie, do you mean in a theater?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So that's pretty smart of them to go, okay, we want to get back into the theater. Let's take this highly successful.
They've built up something that they can. So they're not just going cold and saying, "Here's a new Star Wars movie that takes with weird characters."
Because everybody's going to go see it.
Yeah,
and it's going to have Baby Yoda in it.
It's called the Mando, right? So it's going to have supposedly it's going to have Mando and Ahsoka and Boba all on the big screen. So.
Yeah, it's the Avengers of the Filoni verse or whatever.
Oh my god, if they do one of those pause sequences where they're all on camera and it slows up for a second.
Dun, dun, dun.
It's gotta like go around like
have
that.
A Jedi and the Mandalorian on screen. You actually could have 2 Jedi and 2 Mandalorian on.
You could even have a scene or 2 with Luke. Bring Luke into it.
They got.
What was that? You don't want Luke?
They gotta do it. If they
just a cameo, in fact, I meant to mention this last time. One of the things that I'm going to be wondering, which happens also in the Marvel-verse too, whenever they have these shows, and I'm like, why don't you call the Avengers? As I'm going to be like, why aren't they going to Luke? All this big stuff happening. Nobody goes and tells Luke or says, "Hey, Luke,
I mean,
help
for
us out."
one thing, Ahsoka can handle herself as far as I'm concerned. But I don't see Ahsoka as the Hawkeye to Luke Skywalker as being the Hulk. Like, I think they're both the Hulk kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, sure. In fact, she probably trained Luke on some stuff to help catch him up. You know, so it's not a question of power, but it's just like, here's another Force user who's.
But there's also a little bit of he's in charge of starting the school and growing it.
So she wants to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe she purposely doesn't want to bother him.
She's out there doing her Jedi thing and stuff, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But if he fails somehow, it doesn't break stuff.
We don't know what happens when her and Luke are together, right? And that whole scene's going on, and like she might want to distance herself from being responsible for young Jedi because look what happened with her and Anakin and all that.
She was reluctant about Grogu, and maybe she was reluctant about Grogu because of what went down with Sabine.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah.
That would make a lot of sense.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought about that whenever they started talking about this. I forgot to mention it, but yeah.
Cool. Yeah, right. Very exciting.
Well, we asked at the top of the episode what character people want to see come into it. So what character would you want to see? Would you be excited to see pop up?
Han Solo.
I got one. If they don't,
they could use the graphics they made for the Indiana Jones movie.
They could. I think it's inevitable that we're going to see Zeb. If we don't, it's a misstep, right? I know we already saw him, but if you don't have Zeb reunite with them, and maybe there was
they've got to, because they just created this 3D model of Zeb for that one little scene. Now they've got the model. Why not?
I think that little scene was a test audience. I think they were like, hey, did everybody like that? Okay, good.
Yeah, we've got to see Zeb, I'm sure.
If we don't see Hondo, I'm going to be pissed.
Hondo would be fun.
Hondo, I love Hondo.
Yeah,
I want live action Hondo. Or what's the other guy, the other pirate that we see more in Rebels?
The what?
The other pirate, the other guy with the broken horn.
That
guy, the Zabrak guy. He's green skin.
He's not a Zabrak. He's a the horned ones. You know, like the. What's his name? Starts with a D.
Oh, yeah. I didn't mean to say Zabrak. I meant to say Devaronian.
Devaronian, right? He's the guy that they accidentally save from that walking thing that was burning up.
That would be fun.
To save me, and they're like, "Yeah, we're totally here to save you."
He was like the Hondo of a lot of the Rebel stories, right? But
I was a little disappointed we didn't see Admiral Akbar on Home One. But maybe we will eventually.
Maybe we will. Give him back
more
some screen time.
Yeah. He's probably more politician.
For me, I want to see Hondo. I want Hondo on the screen. I want to see live action Hondo with his attitude and his everyone's a friend and that whole thing. You get the right character to do that live action. I think Hondo would slap. It'd be awesome.
That would be awesome. At least I thought we were friends.
Yeah. It would be interesting too to see his personality mixing with Hera and all that,
Some of those Rebels episodes were great with him, right? He was so funny and nonchalant about everything, and everything's going to be great. Meanwhile, he's got so many different pieces going on. I think
he also ended up really caring for Ezra.
Yeah,
like he risked his life to help.
And imagine seeing Hondo help foil Admiral Thrawn's plans. What a cool combination that is, with him being cool and calculated and Hondo having all the attitude and stuff, coming in with chaos and doing stuff. That would be a cool little mix.
That would be great.
I want to say that one character's name was like Azkaban or something. I know it's not.
Started with a V.
Something like that. Oh, Vizago.
That's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, give me. I would prefer Hondo, but either one will do.
Yeah.
Right, because they were fun. When you think of Rebels and you want to see a character from Rebels come on over. Like, not cameos, not like Luke coming in or not Mando coming in or Grogu coming in. Like, something that's going to be, if this is Rebels, we're continuing the Rebel story. Obviously, Ezra, Kanan would be a nice little flashback. But, I mean, you give me Hondo, man. Give me Hondo.
I think we need to see Wilro Hood.
See what?
You know who that is? Wilro Hood.
If you want to go with that one.
Wilro Hood?
You know who it is?
Yeah.
He's the guy that's running with the ice cream maker at Empire Strikes Back. Just in the background.
man.
He's still got it.
Yeah.
He later grew up to be the client in Mandalorian.
Yeah.
What about you?
All right.
Who do you want to see? What do you want to see on it?
Man, Honda. I don't know if I can beat Honda.
Hard to beat that, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I always would love to see Bosk. I've been waiting to see Bosk live action. I think that'd be cool. I don't think there's any reason he would be in this. He'd probably be more likely to be in the next season of Mandalorian. But
Sure.
Yep. Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
It'd be cool if we saw the Mandalorian or something like that. Bo-Katan and Ahsoka would be great.
We definitely don't need 2 episodes of the Ahsoka show about the Mandalorian.
No.
Can you imagine? People would be so pissed.
Oh, I'd be very upset. I can already tell
this
you.
is cool. I like Mandalorian, but we're supposed to be watching Ahsoka.
I can tell you, I'm already so much more in at episode 2 on this show than I was for Boba Fett.
Yeah,
and I like Boba
but
Fett.
they kind of went out on a limb with it. I like Boba Fett more than you do. I really did enjoy it a lot. But I totally agree. They went in a direction with the story that I don't think most people anticipated.
There's something about. What was that, Mike?
It was a filler.
It felt kind of like it, but
it'd be cool. Oh, go ahead.
There's something about so far these 2 episodes that feels so Star Wars. Like it feels like we're back to Star Wars. Boba Fett didn't feel Star Wars. It felt like this other thing that's happening.
Mandalorian feels Star Wars.
Mandalorian feels Star Wars, but kind of
absolutely
a portion of it, right?
Yeah, because it doesn't have, or at least, well, in the scenes where he went and brought Grogu to the Jedi place and Grogu was doing his community, so you got some of that going on. But Ahsoka especially feels Star Wars because you've got lightsabers, you've got the Force, all that kind of stuff. But I'm one of those people that really like the underworld stuff in Star Wars. I could just watch movies of that, and I love that aspect of Star Wars. I don't have to have lightsabers in the Force.
No. I'm not even saying the lightsabers feel Star Wars, which it definitely helps. Lightsaber battles make you feel Star Wars.
You got to have lightsabers.
But there's the moment where her ship comes in, and it does the little fin turn and does the land and all that. That just feels Star Warsy to me. And Mandalorian is amazing. I love Mandalorian and stuff. But all the ships are kind of like quick and stiff. And, it doesn't have that. It has her ship is a New Republic ship or an Old Republic ship, right? And it brings back all these memories of Star Wars and episodes 1 through 7 or 6. I mean,
you know what I think key to Star Wars is overwhelming the senses. It's like, when I watched episode 1, I watched it 10 times in the theater. I went to the theater to see it. And it was because every single screen was just full of little stuff to look at. And it was like you're trying to pay attention to the story and the characters, but at the same time, you're like, man, that little droid looks so cool. And that alien and this thing and the ships and flooding. That was the thing that I felt. When they went back to trying to be too much like the original trilogy in 7, 8, and 9, they're standing out in the forest, in the woods, in a scene. There wasn't this overwhelming flood of cool stuff like you're watching, like you're reading 10 comic books at once.
Yeah, and we are doing that here.
It's the child in Lucas that he did that. The Buck Rogers. And having those moments is critical, I think, to that Star Wars feel.
Yeah, a lot of the aesthetics too, right? Like when Hera and Chopper are trying to get the tracker on the ship, and you see like the engine, like it's not foggy but fuzzy almost, and your eyes are trying to focus, but it's intentionally unfocused. Bryce Dallas Howard did that in one of the first Mandalorian episode that she directed, where like you're coming up on the ship, and there was that like. That fuzziness and the engine residual and stuff that's going on, and it really and also with the way that we started this whole thing with the scroll, and we had the ship come in, and all of that is very like it's been missing from a lot of stuff, and we're getting a lot of that now.
That's a good point.
Loved
in episode 1 with the scroll, like we were in space, and then you see a ship come in that felt so Star Wars, right?
Yes, and But it does remind me, like in the last season of The Mandalorian, I loved the pirate fighter battle in the asteroids.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, this was I consider this like a golden age of Star Wars. The kid in me back in the '80s would have just gone crazy with all this stuff.
Yeah.
You got the ships, like you're giving this wide view of where the ship is going, right? And you have the ship going behind a tower and going on the landing pad. You see other ships on the landing pad. You see people during Ahsoka's fight with the yet to be named Inquisitor. You see people on the other side of that trench standing there watching what's going on. Like if you look at the background, you see characters that are standing there watching what the fuck is happening. And you actually have depth to the scene.
They're gonna like go home and have dinner that night. And how was work today? Man, you'll never guess what.
And they arrested like half of the work staff, and Jedi came.
So much more depth in the scenes and in the characters than exactly what the camera's focused on, right? Like,
yeah,
the background of what's going on is almost as important as what the camera's trying to let you see.
That's why I have to watch every episode several times, because I'm just like freezing frame and looking at everything.
Yeah, when I'm grabbing these screenshots, I'm watching it again, and I skip ahead and little stuff to look for stuff, but I'm just like, ooh, look at that. And sometimes I skip stuff just because I'm like, we'll talk for like 10 minutes if I show this, and it's just a little stupid thing in the corner, and it's not worth.
And that's the main thing, is that you got to have people working on it that have a passion for that world and want to do that stuff, because they're never going to script out. Be sure to put a little man playing with a droid head in the corner. You know, people do that because they're passionate. So many franchises, IPs, or whatever you want to call them, they do something like they'll say, oh, well, here's a really good director who's hot right now. They bring in that director, and that director says, I have my own vision of what I want things to be. And if Star Wars was handled like some other franchises handled, Darth Vader would have a red cape in one of the movies just because they decided he wanted to have a red cape. And in this one, it's like even the little cheesy graphics from the 70 of the Death Star plans in Rogue One still look like that because it had to look the same. And
well, that's all Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, right? That's them.
Not Rogue One, but
yeah, they know that, and this is the best part about it, is that every single awesome moment is earned. Yeah. It's not this fan thing like, here's Boba Fett. Like
they do it without it feeling that way. That's what's great about it. Yeah.
And they do it very subtly too, right? When we're in Luthen's shop and you see all those relics, when you go in the back, you see a holocron in the background, right? The Sith holocron. They're much bigger than we're used to. So I don't know if they're like whatever, but just having them there makes look at Predator 2, right? With Danny Glover. When he goes on the Predator ship, there's the alien head. Way before like Alien vs. Predator.
Like why? Just because somebody thought it would be awesome to do, you know?
Like it's there, and you notice it. And you're like, all right, that's really just anything. Like it's just really, they're giving us so much more depth in this one to the scenery than I've seen. I mean, even in Mandalorian, right? When we're in a scene with the Mandalorian and it's what's happening right there that matters, and this one seems it's much bigger. There's much more to it.
Well, another thing too is that like they've got a lot of opportunities plot-wise with the Ahsoka storyline to bring in a lot of elements of Star Wars. With Mandalorian, they're trying to do a Western, and in part of the Western genre is the lone guy with a desert. You know, it's like that's part of the feel they're going for there. So I understand, the differences and all, but I love it all. It's a little different, and just think of how different Andor was. Yeah. I love that too. That's the spy thriller. Star Wars is like gone beyond just one genre now. It's such a big galaxy that you can have all kinds of. You could have a rom-com in the Star Wars universe.
I mean, and Marvel kind of thought the same thing too when they started WandaVision and Loki and all that stuff. So it's really smart of them to start grabbing different audiences and stuff. And I really dislike I hate it when people go like, oh, Andor's, they're finally doing Star Wars right. No, they're doing Star Wars right every single other series as well as Andor. It's just a different way of doing it.
There's so many shades and layers and flavors.
Star Wars in this little box. It can be all this much more stuff, So So
Yeah, well,
happy
look
to
at
see
this
all
one.
this.
We're looking at different galaxies now. There's so much
Yeah.
to explore,
Mhm.
right? You can have whatever you want. It doesn't need to be all red and blue lightsabers. It can be whatever. You can have a cartoon about the Porgs and still have it be canon. It's great.
Here, I got another question for the comments. Is there any chance that other galaxy is the Milky
No,
Way?
no.
I don't think they'll do that. They won't have them go to Earth and all that stuff. But could it be this galaxy?
I hope not, because it's going to be another Masters of the Universe if it does.
Yeah, no, I'm like I saying, I don't want Ahsoka walking through New York like a fish out of water trying to figure out what's going on. No, I don't want any of that.
No, don't give me live action Skeletor.
No, I'm not talking about that. But, I mean, who's to say what galaxy it is? Yeah.
No. Although we do know at some point one of the, what are they called, the greenies or something, come to our galaxy, ET, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And you know, humans came from somewhere. We know in real life they evolved on this planet, and they don't know where humans came from in the Star Wars universe.
I don't think Filoni would fail us like that.
No, it gets real cheesy if you try to fill in those blanks like that. So I don't think that they would ever do that. But you know, I don't know. If that went to another side of our galaxy, you wouldn't know. You just know there's some planets over there.
That's the kind of thing that I could expect from what you just said, a director coming in going, I'm doing my way. They're going to come.
Oh, no. Yeah, that would suck. It would be terrible.
What we're getting right now, like you're saying, the golden age of Star Wars and stuff, what we're getting right now is because we have people who know how to do this really well, and they're mega fans.
Yeah.
And you put both of those things together.
Yeah.
And, you know, it really works.
Yeah.
I think having the ET species in the Galactic Senate on that little pod was a really nice thing. And if you want to take it one step further, if all of a sudden you see someone eating Reese's Pieces, that would be kind of like, oh, look at what they're eating, right? Like ET brought them back.
But it should always just be some little thing, maybe kind of in the background that hints at something. It should never just be like Ahsoka walking down Times Square, you know.
No, don't give me, like I said, don't give me Skeletor.
Or like Battlestar Galactica when they go back to Earth and all that. The old Battlestar Galactica, you know, the 70s one. Yeah, real cheesy. But anyway, also, it'll be just interesting to see what is on the other side of that gate when they get there. Who are these ancient beings they're talking about? I don't know. It's going to be a while.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've gone way off course of episode 2, but that was fun. So we'll come back next week after. I think is it every Tuesday, or was that just a special thing? Every Tuesday?
No, they're doing it Tuesdays now. Prime time Tuesdays.
I enjoy that they're doing that too. I'm glad I don't have to stay up till like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning to watch it on Disney Plus, because it's so good. I just might do that
or spend all day not looking at the internet because you're afraid you're going to see spoilers.
Yeah, it's great. It's almost like old TV where shows actually came on in the evening. Remember that?
Yeah, and then you could get around the water cooler. Did you see?
Yeah, what would happen? It's going to be 9 o'clock in the morning. You're going to wake up. You're going to open your computer, open up your phone, and you're going to see, oh my God, Sabine Wren died. Like, oh well, there goes the fucking thing. Like,
yeah,
so doing it at night is way better.
Yeah.
Also, I would love to just binge it all, but I think by having it come out like this, like old style TV, it really does create more of a community and gives a chance for people to talk about each episode and all that. It's probably way better for the community and the fans and all, I think, to do it this way.
Yeah, it's giving you movie night again, right? It's giving you like, let's sit down, pop your popcorn, sit on the couch, and like do the thing, rather than, all right, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, time to get up and watch. Like, none of that.
Yeah, whenever something gets released all at once like that, it makes other people I'll get around to watching that at some point, and nobody's watching it at the same time. And
but you're also assuming that somebody has 6 hours of nothing to do where they can just sit there and watch the whole thing, because if they don't, then they're going to get it spoiled again. So like, it's a regular thing now, right? Like, we're going to do dinner, do your homework, do whatever you got to do, and then sit down and watch the thing at 9 o'clock like that, rather than, you don't have 7 hours, you can sit and watch all episodes. Like, all right, thanks.
I mean, some people do, and that's where binging came from. But I mean, just like you said, I actually like that it comes out every week as well. It feels like I like the anticipation as much as I hate the anticipation. Like, oh, I want to see
Star Wars has always been an event, as well.
Yeah.
Star
Well,
Wars
it's not
fan.
only that, but I also, as an audience, we're a little bit spoiled of just give me all this stuff, make it fight scenes every 5 seconds, blah, blah, blah. And I like putting a little more discipline into my entertainment. I like going, okay, I have to wait till the next week and I can talk to people about it. And
Gets
all
you
this
time to talk about theories. What do you think
Yeah.
this is? Who's that person? And what is
involved.
that thing?
It reminds me when Lost was a big thing and going on at the same time. Like, I would spend all this time talking to people on theories and stuff. You don't get that with binging anymore, So, I like
No, you can't do the what do you think's going to happen next week?
Right.
Right. You watch all 8 episodes, we get to talk about it, and then okay, well, what do you think's going to happen in season 2? Like that doesn't have the same impact as like next week something's going to happen. We're going to find out the Inquisitor. We're going to find out this whatever. Like it's definitely more exciting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, catch us again on the next episode. Give us your comments, your likes, and all that stuff. And thanks for watching, everybody.
Yeah. Thanks. Good
Take
talk,
care.
guys.